There you are.
Stop what you are doing immediately. I am Giovanni Bianchi di Sarvos of the Guardians of Anok. Give me the key or prepare to die.
I am Leah of Rakos. I was born into death, and it is all I have known, and I have no fear of it. I do not wish to harm you, but I have been waiting my whole life for this, and I will not be denied. On guard!
Quickly, we must put an end to this before someone is hurt. You two, stop this madness!
Huh? You two again?
Friends of yours?
No, they are not my friends.
Aha! Ha ha ha!
No! My mask! Enough of this!
Ah! My sword! Would you strike down an unarmed man?
No, but I might knock him out.
Oof. That's gonna hurt in the morning.
So welcome back. So it's Saturday and we've had our main battle. We've gone back, done Fawn's Council, all that kind of stuff. I brewed some potions. You'd gone out selling stuff, and now we're heading into the first of 2 skirmishes, which are taking place in a region called Broceliande. I think that's the right way to pronounce it.
Broceliande again, yeah.
But basically, there is like a herald there that we need to kill, and it's making, and this is like a Valorn thing. It's sort of making Valorn stronger in that region.
It's making them not go down from venom.
Yeah.
Which venom is the thing that really works the business against...
Valorn. It's like a Valorn killing thing. So basically we need to go in there, and there's sort of 2 shots basically in these skirmishes
do
to
the
go
business
and
kill them quick.
To go and deal with the herald. And it was a cool setup.
Bear in mind, we got our butts kicked the day before by the same foe in the same region, right? So we're like, we want to go back there and really do some numbers. And we want to find Good Dave and murder him.
Yeah, so this was a real cool thing. So we met up with Darius again. And we're basically like, sort of RPing out that we want to find his, Derry's body. Yeah. And, sorry, the husk that is sort of inhabiting his body and slay it.
Yeah, put him down for good so he gets to go to the labyrinth.
Obviously, Dave isn't fighting us, OC, but we just sort of RP'd it out that if somebody got one and slayed it and it felt it was dramatic enough, they would turn that into that was...
Yeah, well, basically, also it's very important that, like, obviously, Good Dave find himself, put himself down, which would be hilarious.
Yeah. That was great fun.
Yeah, so Darius took command.
And this was really awesome.
So I've been wanting to step up, right?
Yeah.
Still a bit freaked out by the idea, especially don't want to lead like a big skirmish off. That's pretty scary. But even a small skirmish, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, this was big.
This was a big one, right? With it's a multi-nation effort.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there were other nations going to be there as well. Deal. It's a big fight, right? Darius steps up. I step up as one of the second. Another guy also does it. And then we each get runners each. This is how big the fight is.
It was so cool. And you set us up into columns to count us, and it was really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of us as well. So we also had the Brass Coast with us.
Yeah.
And was it it was the Marches.
Yeah. Well, High Guard with us again as well.
Maybe. There was a very small amount of them.
Yeah, but it was mainly Navarre.
Yeah, mainly a big block of Navarre. And we were supposed to be the anvil in this situation because there's just so many of us. But so on my flank, I was like in command of the right flank, and my job was basically try and support all that stuff and look after the Brass Coast that are on my right hand side, who are going to be like shock troops who are going to come in and sweep in.
Awesome.
They're so colourful.
I love the Brass Coast. Look,
really
I'd like to do some more stuff going around the Brass Coast actually, because I've not really looked into their sort of area of the camp that much.
Yeah, and they fight very bravely.
Yeah, it's really cool. And their kit is awesome. So nice.
Yeah. So we start coming through, right? Enter into the go through.
Yeah.
And then we're in forest again.
Yeah.
Similar environment to where we were before. And it's like then the Valorn start coming in. And I'm like immediately on the front line yelling to basically come and like work as a team and just take this Valorn the fuck down. Like we murder a few of them, which was pretty good, but then like more and more of them start coming along, and then it's like it starts to become, and then we start to have to slowly back away.
Yeah, because we can't make the objective.
Oh man, we made this lovely slow retreat, right?
Yeah,
really really nice. And we start like we're fighting and holding the line, and then I don't know. Do you want to tell me what's going on?
So at this point, I'm obviously just running around with the bow and playing Physic a fair bit more because people are getting downed here because this is pretty intense combat going on here.
It's a lot, right?
But I just remember I kind of fell back to a position as we were doing this withdrawal, and on my left is Good Dave and Michael, who are both now playing new characters, so I can't actually remember the name of them.
This is the thing. Good Dave, do you know what he called his character? Ifan.
He called him Ifan by mistake, didn't he? Yeah.
So not only does he take my OC name, he takes my IC name as well.
Yeah, we're going to have to get him to change that. I think he has changed it.
I think he has changed it. Yeah. But he did that by accident as well, but I mean...
Totally hilarious.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But anyway, so him and Michael are both off on the left flank, just the two of them, fighting a whole bunch of Valorn. I'm like trying to shout. I literally start shouting to get them to withdraw because I thought they're both going to die out there. And then I saw that in fact they are just wrecking out there and just taking people down. So I'm like, I'll just leave them to it. And then I turned around and called for people to join them because they were doing such a good job on that flank. And then we just did this nice collapse. Everyone moved really nicely.
Pretty efficient, right?
Yeah, and then during that battle, there's these Eticamps and other beasties that we've previously fought in the previous battle.
And those big purple, blue guys.
Yeah, so that's an Eticamp, and that's basically like a fast-moving, heavily armoured kind of killing machine that looks like a kind of a
crustacean.
Yeah, a crustacean. Yeah, exactly. So...
And there's also those guys dressed in all blue and purple mage like gear with their faces covered, so you can't see them. And they're basically two-wheeled. Yeah. I felt bad for them. They died bad. The visibility must have been bad in those.
So I see one of these Eticamps and I basically draw an arrow and shoot it in the chest, and it's wearing this big kind of prosthetic chest. It's armoured. Obviously the arrow just bounces off it, and it looked down and then looked up at me, and at this point I'm like... it's going to come get me. And bearing in mind, at this point in time, I'm behind like 2 or 3 ranks of people. So in a normal situation, I should feel really safe. But this thing just charged, right? And sort of burst through the line and then beat me down. And it raised this really interesting thing. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And just, him bursting through the line, everybody pushing themselves out of the way. I mean, and then sort of... basically beating me down. I loved it. I think some people would maybe think that the contact was a bit firm when he broke through the line.
Interestingly, there was a guy, this is later in the battle, but one of these, the Eticads, whatever, they come forward, charge into a guy, and the guy shoves him away.
Yes, I heard about that too.
Right? And... because he was like, don't run into me. He was like, don't shove me. He's like, don't run into me. And it was a weird, like, well, I can kind of see from both points of view here. You know what I mean?
I think it's such a tough environment to be in. Like, as I say, I loved this situation. And it was so cool. Basically, I get beat down. They manage to kill this thing. It sort of dies, basically, on top of me. I actually haven't taken that many hits. It's just, like, the nature of the hits. I went straight down. And as I'm getting up, a referee walks up to me and hands me this traumatic wound card. And I'm sort of looking at it, it's like, oh no. I mean, but it was so sort of fitting, because obviously I had taken a walloping, and the referee was right on it and delivered me a traumatic wound card.
That must have been like...
so cool. God. And it basically tells you on the card what you have to role play out. So it doesn't give you specifically, this is the condition you have. That's for the physic to basically rip the card open and then read what the actual diagnosis is of the wound.
Right.
But it tells you what your experience of the wound is. So it's like, I thought maybe it was something like broken ribs or something like that, or like, internal bleeding, which it turned out to be. But it was like, sort of acting like I was completely kind of crippled, and then this physic comes up to me and she kind of gives me this potion, which... I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't have a really chance to read it, but it was basically like you feel like all of your injuries are gone and you feel extremely confident. Right. So all of a sudden I have to RP out like I'm really confident. My injuries aren't real, although they are. And like, so all of a sudden I'm pushing back towards the line to sort of try and attack. And people are like, what are you doing? And sort of pulling me back. I was like, we can take them. And even though I really want people to pull me out because I cannot fight. It was so cool. So we got pulled back through the gate. Do you want to go into your experience before we go on anything on the other side of the gate?
So, brass coaster on my right hand side, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking over them and they're getting like, it's just it's a giant melee. There's no line. It's just like groups of people. Then a runner comes out. I think Darius actually came over and just went, take like 3 people and head over there and just deal with it.
Yeah.
So I grabbed like a couple of people with me, including Lloyd actually, and then we charged over there and basically just got stuck into dealing with this, like beasties and those monk-looking dudes.
Yes, yeah.
And we just absolutely had a great time with the Brass Coast.
Yeah.
Those guys fight good.
They
we
do
really
fight
did
really well.
murder the hell out of them. But then I don't know what happened. We were pulling back. Oh, I saw what's he called? The
Herald.
The Herald.
Yeah, you saw it.
Yeah, I saw the Herald, but it was just too far to get to. It was, the line was in front of me. We were
Yeah.
trying to get through them, but it was just like there was no shift in that wall, basically.
Yeah.
Saw the Herald, and I heard that Darius had an up close and personal experience with the Herald,
Oh, right.
where he broke through the lines, charged at him, tried to hit him a couple of times, and then the guy just went paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
And then the Herald hit him like twice or something, and just went, I like this one. He's got like spunk or something like that, and then left him there paralyzed and just walked off. Yeah, Darius survives another day.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
That's how close he got to it.
the retreat got pretty hairy. I saw like Michael almost get cut off.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, no, he did get cut off.
Yeah, well, we all pile through the gate eventually, but those guys they jumped off to the wrong side, right?
So basically, the gate is a physical thing you have to walk to, and when you leave it, it's basically like you've left the battlefield. You can no longer participate, and so even if you leave accidentally, that's just tough. You can't go back through the gate again. But you physically have to walk through the gate, which is basically these 2 stones. Just because of I think the nature of people being pushed back, because we were getting pushed really hard, and just through the mass of people moving, Michael and one other person just literally didn't walk through the gate and carried on walking. A referee suddenly stops everybody and we're like, oh, what's happened? Is it like a man down call or something like that? But it wasn't. He was like saying, right, stop play. And he said, you two, pointing at Michael and this other person, you didn't go through the gate. You're still there. And then he's like...
Still in
Broceliande. And they're on the wrong side of the gate. And he just says, 3, 2, 1, go. And then play starts again. And none of us, who are all like a few feet away, can help in this situation. And the enemy line is literally standing at the gate. We were about to applaud them for a game well fought.
Yeah, we were, right?
Yeah, right. And it's like, so there's loads of the bad guys between the gate and safety.
There's the whole army.
The whole
closed
army
in on the gate, right?
Right. The person who was with Michael, I think, just sort of basically just accepted death, which I would have done. Mm-hmm. Michael busts this insane kind of quarterback style move.
The other guy just laid down, right, almost.
I don't know. I didn't see. It was. I think they just closed on him and killed him, to be honest, like super quick. Jesus. But Michael busted this massive move where he kind of like went through the line, did like a crossover behind them. This is between various lines, and
it's
then
like
literally ran through the gate and got hit twice on his way through the gate. Super hardcore, dude. It was such an epic moment. It was like...
He is a great addition.
It was like an NFL kind of move,
Yeah.
It was so cool. The hustle was great. And it was just like... That was probably the biggest hero moment I've seen.
For our 2 strongest, most athletic looking dudes.
Yeah.
They died first.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
To be fair, Dave's got a belly now, so...
But yeah, he look at you trying to bring good Dave down.
Hey,
you'll never be good Dave.
No, that's true. That's why. Trying to bring a good guy down.
But no, so that was awesome. So anyway, then we have to basically fall through the gate.
Oh yeah, let's get to this next bit.
Okay.
We all trundle through, go back to the medical tent for a green lung.
Yeah. I'm immediately like in absolute pain because obviously I've still got that traumatic wound, and I'm like...
They start asking us, does anyone have anything that isn't green lung? And you're like, me!
Yeah,
so then they're like, grab him and bring him in. So me and...
Well, this is the thing, actually. At first, I handed her the green lung card by mistake. And she's like, oh no, you just got green lung. And I was like, oops, sorry, wrong one. Handed her the other card. It's like, get him into the medical tent. It was so good. Like a little... And you guys just carried me in.
Yeah, we carry you in. And then they're like, so we put you down. And I'm like... And I start yelling, he's a physic, so use the good stuff, right?
Yeah, oh man, it's so good. Because the previous battle we'd had in on the Friday, after we came out with the green lung, you'd get this tea, which is like blade root tea, which basically kind of cures it. And that's what I've been used to. And we went in the tent to get cured. This is like the main hospital tent. And rather than the tea, the physic's like, oh, you're a physic. Well, in that case, you can have the good stuff. Reaches down and gives me like some, I think it was like sort of ginger, sort of sweet, and some water to wash it down with. And it was like, this is my cure. And actually, I think they probably do that for a whole bunch of people, not just physics. But just as a bit of RP, it was awesome. So it was like really cool for you the next day, obviously when I was down, to kind of call out and say, you know, yeah, give him the good stuff. He's a physic.
Yeah. So so we sit down on the benches, right?
Yeah.
Be like, treat me, I've got green liver. And they're like, you're not serious enough to be in the tent.
Yeah.
So they literally trundle us out of the tent.
I'm like, because you guys have basically laid me down on a bench. So, and I've got like 2 and later 3 physics all working around me. And it was so cool. That bit of RP was one of my favourite things, right? So I'm like, I'm doing my best actually to RP, like being properly injured. So the first person who comes to look at me, like looks at my card, is like, I don't know how to fix this. I'll have to go and get someone. So even that was like crazy RP, because then I'm kind of like leaning back, sort of screaming, and then she comes over with the tea to help me ease the coughing, and then the other person comes over and say, okay, we're gonna have to perform surgery, and they're like oh, you're a physics, so you'll know what we have to do here. You know, you've got a blood clot, we need to remove it, then you need to cut you open and take that out.
Jesus Christ.
All this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, all right. I couldn't quite manage it, but I wanted to get like one of my bandages and wrap it around my sort of surgical knife, and then use that as a thing to bite down on. But I just, like, the logistics of it, I couldn't quite manage it. But yeah, and this lady's kind of supporting the back of my head while I'm like heavy breathing into this thing and like screaming out when she's cutting into me, and there's blood, and there's like, just, it's really cool. Like, they went like full bore with it. And like, then
so
they
you're
sort of
saying that
stitch me
people
up.
should try and seek out traumatic wounds?
It was so good. It was such good fun. And then they were like, you know, they get you up and like, yeah, you're okay. You're good to go. And obviously I've been cured of green lung, and I've had my traumatic wound fixed. I walk out and these guys are still waiting to be fixed for their green lung.
There's the entire, everyone else hasn't been treated.
You saying the whole nation was just...
all of us.
Could you guys hear me?
No, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, it's all right then.
We're all sat there like waiting for the tea to come out. And then Lloyd just says, he's going back in. He gave me 2 thumbs up and a big grin and just headed back in.
So while we were kind of like in OC, going through the gate. No, just afterwards. Sorry, just when we'd gone through the gate, and I was kind of IC waiting to get obviously seen for my traumatic wound. Kaylee, who is the head of the Navarches, comes over. And is like, "Oh, we're about to go on the second of the 2 skirmishes that are happening. You should join us." And I'm like, I can't, like, you know, I've got this traumatic injury kind of thing. I RP'd it so badly. I think I literally just said that. Yeah. Like, but when I should have been like, I can't go kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so once I got cured, I was like, oh, I could make it. I could make the skirmish. So I kind of ran round, literally just met up with them and like, what, you're joining us after like your traumatic wound? I was like, yeah. And everyone was like, man, that's so metal. It was just like awesome. It was like, and there were like 3 of us as Navarchers. There was me, Kaylee, and this other guy who joined us called Rowan. It was like his first time out as a Navarcher, and he did so good. He was awesome. It was really cool. The 3 of us go through. I think Sparrow was with us as well, actually.
Mm-hmm. He's an archer as well, right?
Yeah, he's an archer as well. He's like the sort of second of our kind of group.
Mm-hmm.
And so we head into this battle, and it's the same thing. We're sort of tasked with killing the Herald. What are you guys doing at this point before I get whacked to...
Sitting outside the bloody hospital tent.
Right, okay.
That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing.
So I file in, and this kind of similar battle starts. Okay, but...
Oh yeah, we didn't get the Herald last battle, by the way.
No, we did not get the Herald the last battle.
We're gutted.
Yeah.
We really stuck it to
really
it.
worked for it. But this time around, we've got... I didn't know, completely luck-based, but we've got someone, obviously, who was in our group who had like a mass venom call or something they could put out. So during the battle, very serendipitously, at one point, someone cast this spell, and it impacts the herald and knocks down like the shield he has, I think, which was obviously protecting him from injury. At that very same moment, me and Antonio, who plays Kaylee, we were basically getting ready to fire a long-range shot, punt at the herald from a pretty far distance, right? We're just like, we'll give it a go. We haven't even heard that this call's come in, so it's complete luck. It's a ludicrously long-distance shot for a LARP weapon in the wind. And I fire this shot, and it hits. But it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't actually see it hit. I just saw like the arrow bounce on the ground, and then he goes down.
The slow motion,
and it was like, because it got him like directly in like the chest, kind of where like the shoulder meets the chest kind of thing, and he just went straight down. And then she was like, "I think that was your arrow," and I was like, "No, I don't. And she was like, "No, that was definitely your arrow, dude." And I was like, "That's crazy shot." So, and then our general, who is an awesome person, by the way, the same guy that you went up to. He basically literally just ran through the lines and just executed it there and then. And this was like in the first few minutes of the skirmish this happened. So the big bad herald thing just got taken down straight away. And it's, I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It was obviously a bit further into the encounter than that. But yeah, and then we just cleaned them up and left.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the presence of greatness right now. We're in the presence of the hero of Broceliande.
So
the hero of Broceliande, the hero of Broceliande.
I've had to endure this. So it was one of those things, and it's like there's a lot of small time stuff that happens in LARP that is like in your group.
Small time stuff, is it, Ian? Small time stuff. Is it
No,
you now?
but you know what I mean?
No, Ian, I think you said it quite clearly what you meant there. You were talking about us and our, you know, I killed an absolute shit ton of fucking husks. I absolutely murderballed single-handedly a load of them, right? I sent them back to the abyss. You fire one arrow and you're the hero of Broceliande. They're writing a fucking song for the Navarchers, and now they might write an extra verse for you.
It's crazy.
The hero of Broceliande.
It was ludicrous. So basically it started off like so a few people just said, oh, that was, you know, Talus who shot it and stuff. And it was like, the crazy thing was that Lloyd and Bungle had gone off for a walk before I got a chance to tell them about the shot. And they came back and they were saying, what's this I hear about the hero of Broceliande? And it's like, what is going on? They'd obviously bumped into Kaylee on the way, and she told them the story.
You will literally be that old guy that's just like, did I ever tell you about the time I killed the herald?
With this shitty bow hanging above the fire.
They're like, yeah, you've already told us this story like a million times. Well, it was winter.
But the great thing is these guys, right, so they don't let much sort of go by without a bit of ribbing. So all of a sudden they'd start saying like, we can't sit in the presence of the hero and not, I hear he's 7 foot tall. And then it sort of incrementally increased.
His bow was made of an entire willow.
Yeah, just absolutely ludicrous stuff. It was so much good fun. Like this went on all weekend, these guys coming up with increasingly ludicrous stuff to mock me with. And it was so much good fun.
Well, I really hope they write a song about it, and we are all tempted to write a song about it. I know. For Songs of Story Times. So,
it was great fun. It was great fun. But yeah, massive shout out to the Navarchers. I had just a really good time battling with them, and all of the RP actually with all of the members was just fantastic all weekend. Everyone was really cool.
It was an absolute blast, like all the fighting, but like. I'm already like 3 fights in or whatever, and I'm knackered.
Yeah,
like it's a lot of running around, right?
Doing 2 skirmishes in a row was intense.
Yeah, well, obviously you guys and Archie gets to stand there and wait for
get to make the critical plays. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I'm just what I mean, just lounging back there drinking a cocktail while the rest of us are actually doing the heavy.
So actually, during the battle. Just we were getting pushed hard after we'd succeeded, and we were getting pushed back, and Antonia's bow sort of went a bit skew whiff, and that like got unstrung, and there was no time to restring it. So I'm like, draw my sword, and I'm just like, take my sword, we'll fight out of here, kind of thing. And it's like we're at this point, like it's one of those sort of things where it's actually not necessarily a difficult position, but we're moving over rough terrain, so there's a lot of stumbling and stuff that happens. So it's kind of getting a little bit risky on that side, and we kind of have to sort of burst through a rear guard so we can actually get out and withdraw. It was proper cool, like fighting kind of real close quarters, and then suddenly realizing, hang on, I gave him my sword, and stuff is getting into sword range. I was like, what do I do?
Wave your bow about, right?
Yeah, and then what can I do? So I was just like hiding behind people. It was really good fun. So yeah, then the skirmish just went very, very well. We went back to camp, and obviously then the mocking started.
Well, I would say it's more like gentle ribbing.
Yeah, the ribbing. Yeah, no, it was great. As I say, I really
said the body to the victim.
Yeah, then I think we just decided we'd go out and explore a bit, right?
Yeah, I think like that's when we decided that probably drinking was probably a good idea.
Yeah, we hadn't done our kind of like tour of nations thing and just going to different bars and stuff, and we really wanted, I think, to show the guys that as well, because it's a really important part of Empire. As it happens, we didn't really wander that far. No. In my experience. I mean, we went to a few places, drank at a few places. It was good fun. But then I think we all just kind of broke off and did our own thing.
Well, it was more like I was absolutely pooped. So yeah. I think we did, we hung around the fire a fair bit. Went to Songs and Storytime.
Yeah, Songs and Storytime was fantastic.
A couple of highlights.
So, would you want to start with probably the main one, I guess?
Oh, I really enjoyed a guy called Captain Prospero.
That was really good. That was really, really good.
We only saw a little bit of his set, but he was hilarious.
Yes.
It was like just him telling a tale of how great he was.
Yeah.
And he had it was going, well, and then carrying on. It was just...
and the whole thing, it was like, he was hyping himself up, like he was saying, he's got like chocolate-coloured eyes,
telling a story about himself, about how dreamy he is.
Yeah, and then but in a totally sort of self-mocking way, and he just all that sort of wonderful stuff where performers are able to sort of like be icy, OC, and self-aware, and all of that. Right, it's a great skill, and some people at LARP really are actually amazing.
Awesome. Oh, I didn't even more. Sorry, Captain Prospero, but more importantly,
yes.
When we first got there, we joined like halfway through a wonderful play,
and it's the Coctopus play.
The fucking Coctopus play,
so good, guys. So I can't even remember the episode, but way back when, was it E2 or no E3 last year?
I don't know. I can't remember.
But anyway, we got we kind of mentioned the fact that we bumped into someone and they'd said that they could perform this play called The Coctopus, and we said how much we really wanted to do that, and we were going to make it like an ambition. And you could hire them to
perform. And was it like free thrones or something like that?
Yeah, and we were like, at the time we didn't have free thrones, but it was something to aspire to.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've done all this stuff, and like all of a sudden we just stumble in on them performing it in the Navarre camp, like around Songs and Stories. It was glorious.
Awesome. Like, it was so good.
They're all dressed up in these costumes, right?
They've got props.
They've got props that are these costumes they wear, which are like one guy's done up like a unicorn, but he has a massive flaccid horn.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny.
It was a raunchy, hilarious
thing. It was like kind of like a fairground kind of thing almost, but really good street performing. It was fantastic.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. Actually gave them a tip when they left.
Yeah, and they had this whole thing of a tip for a tip. So after you gave them a tip, they'd touch the tip of the Coctopus.
I gave them a crown, dude.
Did you?
Yeah,
I think I did too. Yeah,
I thought it was really a bargain. If dreams had come true.
That was fantastic.
Not only was he hanging out with the hero of Broceliande, he got to see the Coctopus play.
Yeah, it was so good. And I think like bringing the guys like Lloyd and Michael to Songs and Storytime and showing them it's a really special thing. And I think
it's hilarious how it doesn't hook people immediately.
Yeah, it takes time.
It takes a few people coming on. And then it's just like then they get that, you get that dreamy look in your eyes where you just drift away to go and really enjoy it.
I love Songs and Storytime, and the thing, of course, is that because I'd failed to meet with Eurozone the night before, there was an arrangement I would go again midnight on the Saturday night to go and meet up with them. So I had to kind of constantly check the time. I actually snuck my phone out and then just sort of surreptitiously looked at it in corners and stuff. It actually worked okay. It's not something I'd want to do long term. I need a better solution. but I was kind of constantly keeping tabs on the time, but also scuttling back to watch Songs and Stories with Lloyd, because at this point, you guys had sort of decided you wanted to get an early night, didn't you?
Yeah, I was done. Yeah.
And it was great. So you went to bed. Me and Lloyd stayed up and listened to Songs and Stories. One of the last ones before I went off to go and head into Urizen was this guy came on. He played. He basically, I think he was someone who's very confident, sort of singer, and he sort of stood up and sung an OC song, but he sung it really, really well, and it was really, really good. But I've got kind of interesting thoughts on what I think of, like, an OC song, like in Songs and Story time. It's
so a totally OC, no Navarre references.
No, but that's it. Doesn't have to be Navarre, but it's just like, because it's a song that everyone knows. It was Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers and stuff. And by the way, he performed it so well, and it was and did it in a really entertaining way. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's
an interesting kind of point. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't want like a whole bunch of people to stand up and do OC songs. Songs and Story. But it's like, it's such a difficult thing to broach, so I'm not really sure how to talk about it.
Yeah. I would say, like...
again, I loved it.
I'd say if you saw back-to-back OC songs, then it would be a bit jarring. But
yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, so exactly. So it was an interesting one. And as I say, I loved it, and I think everyone there loved it as well. It was really, really well performed. Mm-hmm. But it was just raised an interesting point about how we handled that.
Yeah, well, then what did you do?
Then I headed off to Urizen to make this meeting. So I head over to Urizen. I set off a bit early, and it's one of those things where every time I head over there and I do manage to meet up with people, the person I meet up with is Lanius. Yeah. But it's always so dark that I can never tell it's him until I'm like right up next to him saying, "I'm looking for," and he's like, "Oh, hello," and then like we've got this kind of. I guess our character relationship is like respect, kind of more than, but like a kind of a growing closeness. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we're still very formal when we talk to each other. I see. But it was great. He got a drink out for me. I had my little mug with me, so we sort of headed off to this Urizen tent, which was just like this really big tent, and you walk in, and they've got this musician playing. Everyone's drinking, and it's like this. It's just like, what do the Eurizeni get up to? So it's great. They had like this guy with this guitar sitting in this room with like, in this tent, which has all of or I think it has a lot of the Urizen kind of shields and spears and weapons, like all the way around the outside of the room, just all kind of against the wall, and everyone's sort of sitting down, watching the performer, or just sort of milling around talking. And yeah, you're just having a drink, and it's just like, it's Urizen, but it was a really nice sort of bar experience as well in a way. Like, it was a really nice kind of public space, and it was really good fun.
Party time.
Yeah, and it was great. It was like, I'm Navarre, I love songs, so I was singing along to all the songs, and they were Urizeni songs, and that was really cool. Being a Navarre, like I could suddenly learn lyrics to Urizeni songs.
Yeah, it's easy to forget, like, we're getting hard out into the Navarre game, but there's all these other nations doing their own thing constantly, right?
And yeah, it's a bit like, as you say, you ran into Highguard, and the people there, they give you that shield, and they've got a whole sort of RP going on, around you, and they're a completely different nation, exploring different parts of the brief and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, so I had a great time in Urizen. Lanius had to go on like a meeting or something, because I think he was arranging stuff for like one of the skirmishes or something like that the next day. I can't remember now.
God, like that late?
Yeah, he was heading off on military meetings, like even then. But he's like really deep down the military game, like in terms of, I think he sort of helps support a lot of things. He's really involved. His character's like one of the longest living Urizeni, probably, because so many of them died. Yeah, he's like, he must be one of the most kind of long living ones. But yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, he headed off. I sort of stayed, listened to some of the songs. There's another of the Crystal Skies who I know, but I kind of had this weird thing where I couldn't remember her IC name. Mm-hmm. So I became self-conscious of the fact that I know her OC and I didn't know her IC name. But in IC, we're not like, we don't know each other, because she also died like previously, and I hadn't met her new character.
So you should go and introduce yourself.
So I should have done, but I couldn't remember her name. So I had that weird thing where I was on my own, and I just kind of noob froze and was like, okay, I'll just head back to Navarre.
Yeah, this weekend, it's been weird, right? Like, it's been hard to get into RP sometimes this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely should have, like, I would have really been up for staying, actually, and just, like, you know, talking with the various... I mean, that's why I wanted to go, was to be introduced to people from Urizen, right? And then when the moment came, I kind of flustered a little bit, you know?
So, did you have a good time?
I had a great time. I mean, I had a really good time. So then I went back basically to Navarre and watched, like, the end of Songs and Stories, basically. Mm-hmm. It was great. I can't actually remember very much at this point. I was a little bit drunk. But there were some really good performances that went down. Just before the end, I went off to go to the loo, and then I was going to sort of pack in myself and get some sleep. And I'm kind of like stumbling around a bit drunk outside the OC kind of toilet. It's not like falling all over the place, but I'm very merry, right?
Yeah.
And I bump into... No, while I'm standing there, somebody who'd heard the podcast came up and started having a conversation, and we just had this really kind of nice OC conversation. And then Kaylee and the
Vultures.
I think Rowan might have been there as well, and Antonio's boyfriend, who is playing like this mercenary who kind of serves the Vultures. Like, I think she pays him like money to be their bodyguard. It's like it's cool RP. But anyway, so we all just end up having this massive chat. It goes on for ages. Songs and Story Time kind of ends in the distance, and we must have talked for a stupid amount of time. And then I end up just like collapsing into bed, getting ready for Sunday.
Didn't you stumble into the Orc camp? Oh
my word, I'd actually forgotten about that. Okay, so during all of this, I think on my way back from Urizen, I went through the wrong door. And the Orcs have this thing, is you're not really allowed into their territory unless you've got someone with you. You're an Orc. Well, I mean, either you're an Orc or you've got someone with you and you're armed.
Yeah.
I was armed, I think, but I was going around on my own. And I suddenly realised in the Orc camp, and I sort of thought, I panicked and I thought, oh crap. And I couldn't see the way out because they have this kind of fence network around like all of their tents, have little fences around them, I think. Yeah. Or it seems that way. And they have like a fence around their whole area.
Yeah.
So everywhere I walked was just fence. And I was basically doing that whole thing of just always go left round a maze. Like trying to find my way out in the dark.
You're that lost.
I'm that lost. I'm pretty drunk at this point. So someone sees me and is like, I think they say something like, hey, and I like got just like my cloak wrapped around. I literally throw up my cloak and wrap it around my face to hide that I'm, you know, not.
I bet that didn't look suspicious.
Yeah, and it obviously looked way more just suspicious. Yeah.
Did you see that guy that just put that cloak around his head?
It was absolutely ludicrous. Just trying to pretend I'm an Orc. Eventually, I stumbled my way out, and then I hit Songs and Stories. It was a really good time.
Right.
On Saturday, didn't you have a thing where some Orcs came up to you and?
No, I think was that Saturday or Saturday?
That was Saturday night, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, some Orcs came up and said hello to us at our camp. That's all I want to say about that.
What?
That's all I want to say about that.
Oh man, okay. Is this something on running?
Well, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what's happening. So I spoke to some Orcs.
Oh, damn it! I wanted answers.
No.
Oh. Okay. No. All right then. All right. Fair enough. So.
That is to be continued.
Yeah, that is Saturday then.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sunday is our Battle as Monsters.
Sunday battle, right? Okay. Pretty up for this battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had we've been cooking the whole weekend, which is pretty good. So we had breakfast.
Oh yeah, that's important to say. Yeah, we had the brazier and we were cooking lots of food on there. And the camp in general, I should say, actually was really a lot nicer this time around.
We spent a lot of time at the camp.
We had lighting up and we had seating outside around the fire, and just being able to cook food and have it isn't like people would come up and talk to us and sit with us and tell stories with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey came up and was just running through a whole bunch of stories.
Jeffrey was a big part of our weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
Told us lots of stories and it was really good.
Yeah, and we just had loads of other people. Like
he monstered against us.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get stuck into this battle, shall we?
Yeah, so it was a strange one. So basically the idea was that we were playing as the Jotun, or Jotun.
Jotun.
Let's
go Jotun.
Yeah, Jotun. I think it is Jotun. But basically, we were in an honour battle with the Empire.
Yeah, an honour battle.
Don't have a history of being that honourable.
No.
All the time.
It was a weird setup though, wasn't it?
It was a weird setup. So the idea was that there would be 3 healing stations on the battlefield, and both armies could be taken to these healing stations and would be healed by physics from the other side.
Yeah, they were, well...
Or could be, or their own.
It was like 50-50, and there were no fire zones, and you weren't supposed to
Yeah.
attack each other in these zones.
Exactly, right? So, and the idea was it was to test whether the Empire had honour, I think.
Yeah, it's an honour battle.
Yeah. But it made it for this kind of like... So we as Navarre, we joined this unit called the Orphan Y, who were like the shock troops, essentially.
Yeah, so it looked like a repeat of the other battle, right?
Yeah, the one from E4 last year, where we kind of did the full
which was going to be
surround.
this big encirclement, and then it was going to be a terrible thing. In that battle, we headed through the woods.
Yeah, so we kind of, as the Empire kind of entered, there's this sort of track behind the woods that essentially lets you do a complete reverse and come up behind them.
Yeah, and that's
so
what we did.
We ran down there.
So
it's like a big block of people, right? It was like 100,
maybe more. 120, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so we, as all the Empire forces are filtering in, we do this run all the way around the back of them and come up behind them. And then basically what happens is the Empire forces create like two lines, right?
Yeah, it was good.
One big heavy line versus our big heavy line, and one lighter line facing off against our lighter line.
Yeah.
And we basically jogged over and charged at them, right?
Yeah. And we had I felt like we had immediate success just through the shock of the impact, but then were very quickly repelled.
I think we hit a couple of stragglers, and then it was like, then we got hit from the side.
Yeah, the thing is, we had just enough people to get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, we had, probably about 50 less people than them. You know what I mean? On that side. So it was like...
It wasn't great.
So we charge in, and they can immediately envelop us, and it just turned into a brutal stabbing. I went down almost immediately. And
I've done a few times, but the funny thing was, kept on getting carried off to the...
Yeah, so we'd actually been told that the Jotun wouldn't be carrying people to physics, that it was, death was a good thing, and that's the honourable thing, and they have to come and take their injured and take them to the healing tents, right? Yeah. Or the healing areas. But obviously the Empire were on best behaviour and trying to, really
I got rescued by the Empire a couple of times.
Every time I got rescued, it was by an Empire member, so... I had no dishonourable experiences with the Empire, so they
gave
did
them
really
a little
well.
bit of shit when they were physicking me up.
Yeah.
I kept accusing them of stalling.
Yeah, okay. That's cool.
That was my thing.
I had people use potions on me and actually all kinds of resources like herbs and stuff.
It ain't right, man. It ain't right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the battle was...
It was a weird affair.
It was a weird one because it didn't feel like there was much stakes involved.
Yeah, I think as a monster, I think as the player, it would be really good fun. I think as a monster, it was maybe slightly, it just felt a bit lackluster. Also, it was very short. It only was 20 odd minutes.
It was really short, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was I guess there wasn't that much dynamism in what we were doing, and that's maybe our fault.
We were getting our asses kicked.
Every time we'd reform, it was basically
we'll go back, reform in a big blob,
and
do
we
the same thing
charge,
we did again, just charge and get mashed, yeah.
And it's
we tried really hard.
Yeah.
We got mullered.
We just got mullered every time, right? Every single attack was repelled and crushed. And that was the whole thing. I don't know how many times I got respawned. I had a good time.
I took an archer down.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You've been,
He got raised, obviously, he got saved. But, I took an archer down. That felt pretty good. That was my big achievement of that battle.
I did very little in the whole thing. Every time I seemed to actually move on any position, it was the person I was fighting with would suddenly be joined by 2 pole arms and a shield.
Yeah.
And it's oh no. And it went very badly.
I had some good fun, yelling at people and generally, yo-tuning it up.
There was a really cool moment where a physic was trying to walk through the lines to, an Empire physic, walk through our lines to retrieve one of their down to bring them back to the thing. We're saying that we shouldn't attack them. And we were no, we'll tell you what honour is. If you come for him, we'll strike you. And he's I'm going to come for him. And there was this really kind of interesting back and forth. And there were 2 people playing as Jotun, and they were kind of arguing even among themselves what the honourable thing to do was in the situation. And this is all in the middle of the battle. So that was really cool to see this whole sort of dynamic of where is honour and its little discussion all of a sudden on the field. That was one of the coolest parts of the whole battle, because that kind of showed what I think the possibility of the battle really was. And I think it was often that.
I think it would have been fun to have a second stage where the Empire turned to dicks and then just...
I think the thing is maybe if the players had been dishonourable, it would have gone that way. But I think because they were so honourable, right? Like, I mean, they weren't really dicking around.
At the end of the battle, we cheered each other off the field.
Yeah, it was a really weird one. It felt like a sports sort of competition rather than a battle.
Because the way it ended was there were 2 flags, right?
Yeah.
And when both armies had enough, if one army had enough, they would offer their flag. Yeah. And the Empire broke through our lines and stole the flag.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. That's how the battle finished. So that's why it ended so abruptly, because everyone started yelling like, "Why are you still fighting?"
Yeah, your flag's gone.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. It's just, I think as a monster, it was like slightly unsatisfying.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, I don't want to get my ass kicked. It was just, it didn't feel like, I could, there was that much dynamic stuff that I was doing, right? I was, you say, I was literally just getting carried off, healed up, plonked in a line and charging. And it's, yeah, it was still good fun, but it's like, it's probably the weaker of the monster battles I've been to.
Yeah, I cardioed the hell out of that battle.
Yeah, it was great fun though. Like, even, that's the thing, even though it wasn't one of my favourite ones, it's still awesome. And I loved it. And as you say, all the cheering each other at the end.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Talking about honour.
Yeah, yeah, and just, you know, congratulating them and stuff. It was cool. That side of it was all really cool.
Right, so what do we do after battle?
Yes, then basically, as we normally do, we're just sort of thinking that's the end. We'll kind of start packing up.
I was trying to I changed to a military unit.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
So basically, I was like...
So players have resources, just to make it clear, and Dave's resource is a business, right?
Yeah. So my business, and I was just like, this kind of makes sense when I first get back, I'm trying to make some money.
Yeah.
But now I'm much more invested in trying to do some military stuff, especially after like if you like sending units to something gets you involved in special battles. That sounds great, right? Cool. Like a lot of the people that got trapped in the first skirmish used a military unit.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think that was the story to represent
why
they lived there, right?
Or there was a military unit.
Yeah, that's cool.
So then I was like, that's fucking cool. So then, I was like, I want to get a military unit. And having spoken to Claire Evans, I was like, I can go up to God, pay 2 crowns, and then change my thing.
That was cool. Didn't you have to get like a spell or something cast, or get some mana or something? Or am I confused about that?
No, that was a different thing. That was me trying to... So, there's some IC stuff where they were sending our military units to go and do this thing, right?
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah, there was something we needed like 5,000 people for, which was
back
like
in Broceliande, whatever. And then, so we have to get enough forces in that area to be able to repel this thing.
Yeah.
So what they were going to do is buff our units using this spell.
Okay.
And make our units like triple hard.
Okay.
For the oncoming assault.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we all rallied up at the Citizens on Saturday to go and do this ritual.
Yeah.
But then it turned out it was going to be... And I managed to buy mana. Yay. I'm playing the game, right?
Yeah.
First time ever buying a resource. Then basically we all trod off, and then they get the numbers wrong. Turns out that we can't do it with 1, and it's going to cost more than that, and none of us had it. So then Sunday I got told maybe these people could help. Went up, tried to ask them. Then they told me, and I was just like, I don't have any mana. It didn't work out. So I have not buffed my unit. So
but you sent them in. Oh, you're going to send them in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's
to figure out how it works. I'm looking forward to... I hear there's drop-down menus and all sorts.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff on the website for like downtime and stuff.
Yeah, now I've got something that's going to go out there and do things.
Yeah, I think that's cool, right? And I think there's like, it's not saying that like businesses and farms and stuff aren't interesting, because I think there can be sometimes something happens and you'll get more.
It also provides beer money, which is also very important.
Yeah.
But I think from now on we should be a crafting powerhouse. That's how we should make our money.
I think it's like it's difficult in a way, isn't it? Because it's like, in a sense, it's, you know, you can't compete with certain things, but it doesn't really matter, right? And sometimes you have your own sort of micro economy of use inside you're striding.
The best way to make money in the game, as far as I can tell, from where I've seen it, is run a bar.
Yeah.
People will come to you and they just give you 5 rings again and again and again. They'll queue up to give you 5 rings.
Yeah. Oh man, some of the bars, especially the one that Callum and his friends run, is just so good, right? The RP there and the experiences there. Like, there was this great bit, they said pay whatever you want, and I'd given you 5 crowns.
Was it 5?
It was 5, so it's a 4 4 crown coin and a 1 crown coin.
I thought it was...
No, so I basically like... and the whole thing is it's a prosperity bar, so you pay whatever you think it's worth, right? So the average drink is like 5 rings. So I've given him this money, and Irfan just hands it over. And to be honest with you, I love it. I love it as RP because it's exactly what Irfan would do.
Yeah,
he would just hand the money over and say, "There's my prosperity." Like he's giving shit to the bar, and yet he's giving them like a good chunk of money for us.
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't even know it's
but it was really great. Like Sinwig, who's Callum and stuff, they just gave us loads of like free drinks and stuff, and we had like this really cool. Like every time we went there, we just got a free drink, and it was really good stuff as well.
We shouldn't talk about free drinks, otherwise everyone will
yeah, that's true.
Right, is that the end of the event?
Yeah, so then it was you guys. We all just started packing up.
Yeah, I had to get home because everyone was heading back to mine.
Yeah.
And then you guys all packed up.
Yeah, so everybody sort of trickled out while we were sort of packing up. We heard about this thing, or that one of our mages, an archmage of our nation, had last night sort of burnt an order from the Empress, which would have been negative or deemed negative for Navarre, and this is seen as a treasonous act, and the militia were basically dispatched to catch her and bring her in.
Right.
She ran back to Navarre. This all happened on the Saturday night. She ran back to Navarre, and somebody stood in the Songs of Storytime circle. I'm getting all this from what I think Lloyd told me.
Right. I've heard similar.
I think I heard this repeated a fair bit, so I think it's fairly accurate. And someone stood up and said, "There's a story going on right now," and basically explained what the whole deal was. Navarre tool up and all getting armed. You know, Kian sort of gets his spear and puts on his lap and stuff like that. And everybody else around the ring has obviously got their swords and stuff already. And then the militia come along and they're like a couple of people. And they're like, "We'll come back tomorrow." So on the Sunday when we're leaving, that's obviously the next day. So there's a big group of Navarre kind of gathering up, and they're like, "So we're not going to interrupt with the process of law, but if we happen to make our presence strongly known, it might be beneficial," and stuff like that. And they're kind of hinting at the fact that we're basically going to intimidate these magistrates and, basically get them to sort of either lighten the sentence or kind of quash it.
Right.
So it's just totally Navarre style. We're just going to intimidate them with stabbing weapons. Right?
I mean, this isn't on brief.
I know, it's so... I don't know, I think it is.
It is fun.
It is on brief.
It's fun.
It was great, and then basically, in the end of the day, it turned out we were changing tact entirely and just being really nice to them, and it just turned that way. At that point, it was one of those things where it's like me and Lloyd were getting ready to go, but we thought we'd hang around if there was going to be, something maybe happening, but it was going on a little while, so we just had sort of pieced out and got our stuff. I picked up like a crap ton of arrows from God over the course of the whole weekend. I've just fired so many arrows. So
it's cool that you go and collect them.
Yeah, it's cool actually. So you put a symbol or something on the head of the arrow, and then you'll play a number on the side, and then basically people sort of on the field will pick them all up and put them in a big old row, and then you can easily identify which ones are yours. Because the arrows are pretty expensive, so losing them is not great. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was great. I got a whole bunch of them back. There's a couple more of them out there, but in a weird way, like arrow stuff, they're probably in someone else's quiver right now, but they'll work their way back to me eventually. It's weird. Like, it's cool.
It's like a big collective archer love fest.
Yeah,
we're all swapping arrows with each other.
Yeah,
weirdos.
So yeah, there was that, and then basically just was packing up, and that took a long ass time. Like, yeah. I think like one of the big things is maybe trying to come up with some kind of solution for how we're going to handle like packing up and organising things and transporting things, but that's a topic for. Yeah. It's difficult. I think like the more stuff you have, and the more, in a sense, like all of it makes your experience awesome while you're there, right? So you kind of want it all, but like the time it takes to set it all up and stuff, I don't know. It's all worth it.
We'll figure out solutions. I think a not car solution might be a good idea. Like car tent solution where you put things in different boxes, but then you never know what you're actually going to need, right?
Yeah, we'll work it out. It out. But anyway, yeah, I think what sort of stuff did you want to do in the future? Well, I mean, was there any other stuff at the event you wanted to run over?
No, that's kind of my event. Going forward, I'm looking forward to using the military unit. That should be fun.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to keep doing more of what I'm doing. But again, like, I just want to RP a bit more next event.
Yeah. I think E2 will be a lot better for that. I think hopefully the weather will sort of be a bit kinder to us.
Yeah, I'm going to go in and I'm not going to put so much pressure on myself to do so much, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think, being a bit more selective about what we do and maybe just setting time aside to go and do RP stuff. And I think maybe, as you say, like doing a bit of ceremony as a nation.
Well, like, we had a really good time, though.
It was a fantastic time. Like, one of the best ones for sure. Like, just having the new people there, it was so good playing with, like, Lloyd and Michael and seeing their experience and
getting people killed, that was a good experience.
Yeah, that was so good. The battles were amazing, the skirmishes were fantastic, and just like the people are awesome.
Yeah, so bring on E1, E2 basically.
Yeah, bring on E2. Alright. Strength of the Empire.
Strength of Navarre.
Are you two going to give me any trouble?
Us? No. We just want to talk. Well, I'll talk. You met my friend before. Is it cold in here? Or is it just...
The Reaper cometh.
Quickly, cover your face!
I see you. I know you. You shall soon pass to the labyrinth.
By the time death comes for me, my task will be complete and it won't matter.